Your boy Eustace, the Crashout of Transylvania.
The legend is wrong. The wife that died.
That boy moving different. Hey, just wanted to say thank you for all the love and support in the last vid. And I am currently moving my work schedule around to hopefully get one of these videos out once a week. And I'm trying to test out a new YouTube feature right now. So if you see a hype button somewhere on your screen, I would appreciate it if you pressed it, but only of course if you enjoyed the video. One more thing before we start the video. I usually edit these videos in a Discord call. So if you want to be my entertainment while I'm slaving away on Premiere Pro, join up. Back to the vid. All right, so we start off in 1895. We see a bat flying to this balcony and transform into a vampire. The door opens and you see the shadowy figure start walking towards the crib, but he only says peekaboo, scaring the baby inside. He then says he didn't mean to scare her, but what was the point of this insane entrance? Also, why do all the babies in these type of movies have a full set of hair every single time? They always are just born with a full set of hair.
I mean, it would be a bit weird if it was just a fully bald baby. And also, man, Transylvania 1 was really good. I think the other movies are fine, but I think it also would have been fine if Transylvania was just a standalone movie. The one was so good.
Anywho, this baby is Dracula's daughter, Mavis. We get a couple clips of her growing up and showing that she wants to go outside, but Dracula tells her it's too dangerous out there. We also get this really cool song from Dracula singing to Mavis about how he'll protect her from the humans. And we get a glimpse of how much this man is an absolute crash out.
And if a human tries to harm you, I'll simply say.
But while he's teaching Mavis how to fly, someone interrupts and he says, "Sir Dracula, it's ready." They go to the balcony and we then see that a castle made for only monsters has been built. The only thing stopping humans from getting away is like basically a forest to scare them away, which is honestly such a bad defense mechanism, but you know, it's whatever. The guy says the only way to like really keep humans away though is to make sure there's no bonfires or fireworks, you know, to get people's attention.
That's before Sony Animation redefined their style. Yeah. I think this one was before the Emoji Muji, I think. I think I saw in a tweet before how they the Emoji Movie was so bad they completely redid their animation for like the newer movies after that. That's so funny.
And all that. Basically, he built this place as a promise to his wife to keep Mavis safe, and the only way he sees that being possible is if he keeps her in this castle for the rest of his life. You know, it's whatever. Then we cut to the present day and we see this car speeding through the forest and all these monsters with it really hyped to go to their vacation. The car finally arrives at the hotel and we meet Werewolf Man and all of his kids and his wife. And then we see these zombies that basically like the dumb little henchmen of Dracula, like they just do all the random stuff around the hotel. Then we see Dracula handing out the itinerary for his daughter's birthday. Dracula says the hotel has been human free since 1890.
What was his name? Adam Sandler. He voiced Dracula. And Selena Gomez voiced Mavis. I forgot who voiced Johnny. But there are quite a few voice actors. And they did really good in this movie.
Since this is going to be Mavis's 118th birthday, she's lived here for like 115 years. I don't know how that's relevant at all, but I don't know. They gave me numbers. I did the math. Leave me the fuck alone. Anywho, the werewolf kids finally make it in the building. They just start wrecking the place. They're peeing everywhere and messing everything up. We then figure out the werewolf and Dracula have been really good friends for years. And then Dracula gets the maids to clean up their mess. And these witches come out on timing, instantly cleaning this mess. They put this like sponge on the pee and he kind of like wiggles in it. I don't know what kind of
Also, it's not getting all of it out. Like, there's clearly some stain left over on the rug. I remember Selena Gomez from that one Disney show, Wizards of Waverly Place. Probably one of the best Disney shows that they've ever done.
Joke or whatever this was supposed to mean, but I'ma just keep it pushing.
I think she was also in Camp Rock, if I remember right.
We then see these mailboxes being carried into the lounge, but the zombies trip over and reveal that Frankenstein was in the boxes the whole time. While Dracula is yelling at the zombies for dropping him, the Invisible Man messes with him and pinches him. He then takes off his glasses so he's fully invisible and then smacks Dracula in the face. And then Dracula swings on him, but obviously he misses.
They were both in the movie. And Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez were in the movie. But I swear she was in the movie. Hmm. Maybe I'm misremembering someone else as Selena Gomez.
because he's invisible. Then he takes out these like claws and does like 2 large slashes. And from seeing his powers in the rest of the movie, there is no possible way he can't actually see him. I know for a fact he can see this man. I just can't prove it. But Dracula gives up and hands him a piece of bacon. The piece of bacon makes all the little kid dogs like just basically jump on him. Then out of nowhere, sand starts flying into the room, creating this little sand dune in the middle of the lobby. Then a giant mummy slides down the hill and he's just like, hey, Dracula, what's up? But Dracula's just like, the sand, Murray, the sand, every year with the sand. Anywho, we then cut to Dracula.
Yeah, gotta clean
showing
up
the
all that
monsters what
sand.
humans are like. And he has the most innocent, normal photos of humans ever, but he shapes it as they're just dangerous and, you know, wolf in sheep's clothing type of thing. Basically, they get all their informations about humans through Dracula every year through this little event that they
Human
do,
propaganda.
which is just so confusing to me because they don't live in this hotel. They come to this hotel annually. So how in the world are they only experiencing humans through this? Where in the world do they live in the 21st century that all these monsters, one of these ninjas is like 50 feet tall? You know what? It's whatever. We then cut to Mavis giving herself a little pep talk about how she's gonna ask her dad to let her go outside for the first time. We see that she doesn't have a reflection while she's talking. I don't know, I thought that was pretty cool. She then walks on a wall and then on the ceiling. I don't know if I didn't watch another Vampire Diaries or something, but since when can these ninjas walk on walls and defy gravity? When has that been?
Since forever, actually. I don't remember when I first heard of or watched vampires, but as far as I remember, they could always do that. Yeah. As far as I remember, vampires could always do that.
Vampire power. While that's happening, Dracula walks over to Mavis's room.
Like I know they can walk on walls and on ceilings. They can transform into bats. I think they can also just straight teleport too. They can fly / levitate. They can't go into the sun. They drink blood or suck blood, but it doesn't have to be human blood. I'm pretty sure they can also do like animal blood, or I guess it depends on the property and like the meat or like the show or whatever. Because vampire abilities differ from show to show, but they have like their general base abilities.
She has this like voodoo doll head on her door. All the doors in the hotel have them, but like her specifically beefs with Dracula. I don't know, it's kind of funny. You could tell they've been beefing for a long time because of the way he talks to it.
Is she up yet?
Oh, she's up. What you gonna do? What you gonna say?
But Dracula goes into Mavis's room. He's trying to talk to her about her birthday and what they're gonna do, but she is not having it. She says we need to talk about something. Dracula says, I know you want to explore the world, you can go. But she was very shocked by this. Dracula's just like, yeah, for real, you could go. And she was ready. She already had a bag packed. As she's flying and about to leave, Dracula stops her, but Dracula tells her that everyone went to great lengths to see her for her birthday.
I really want to see new things. Maybe meet somebody my age.
You're 118. The only person your age you're gonna see is one of those shriveled up monk people. She tells him that she wants to go where he met her mom, which is Hawaii, but she doesn't know how to say it, so she says some dumb shit like Hawaha or some bullcrap. And he tells her to just go to a village that's 30 minutes away. But before she goes, all her aunts and uncles come into the room, and they're just like, what? You're letting her go outside? And they're panicking, obviously, because they think all humans are monsters, because that's what Dracula told them. And Mrs. Frankenstein hits this like random pose after talking. I don't know why.
Maybe the most realistic interpretation of vampire is from Sinner's show. It's from not so Sinners Now. Yeah. They can turn other people into vampires. How they turn other people into vampires differs from show to movie and stuff. But yeah. The most modern interpretation of vampires is from Sinners Now. I'm because it's the most recent one.
It's just like
it was pretty successful.
Maybe they've changed.
But after Mavis leaves, Frankenstein tells Dracula, I'm proud of you for letting her leave. But when he turns around, he's not there. We then cut to him flying out following Mavis. And he gets to the village before her. I don't know how fast this man flies, but throughout this whole movie, this man's flight is insane. He is overpowered. This honestly might be the most powerful
Vampires can fly pretty fast. I'm pretty sure.
depiction of Dracula.
I don't know the the general base miles per hour that vampires can fly, but I know they're very fast. Again, I have seen some interpretation of vampires that can't just straight teleport and not need to be a bat.
in fiction. I promise. Because this man does some crazy stuff in this movie. Anywho, Mavis makes it to the village, but all she sees is this mannequin in a shop window. She walks up to it, and this random guy pops out of nowhere with a torch. Then the mannequin turns around too, and all these like humans come out of nowhere with pitchforks and knives, and they say they're gonna burn her clothes, take her
No,
toes,
Lord.
and steal her candy.
In Old Lord, vampires have to be invited to enter a house. Yeah. I think, from at least from what I know, their weaknesses like have to be invited to enter a house. That one's not entirely well known, but it is one of them. Fire is one of them, and that also gives to the sun. They're weak to the sun because they burn alive in the sun. Holy water specifically, and silver, or like silver daggers and stakes. I think also just running. Well, I think the running water comes from more if there's water that can be turned into holy water kind of thing. I think I saw a video of someone saying, yeah, garlic. I forgot. That one was so common, I almost forgot to include it. Garlic too. I was saying I saw a video about someone watching the Castlevania, and they were confused of how running water is a weakness. So, and I said something like, "Well, they can turn water into holy water, and probably if there's like a big body of water, they can turn that entire body of water into holy water or something, maybe."
Which earlier is something that was said in the book Dracula was reading to her when she was a kid. Then one of the humans' head falls off, and you see it as actually just the zombies. Dracula quickly runs and puts his head back on before Mavis notices. Then the zombies just start messing up. One sets everyone on fire, and then literally just a fire circle of people. But as Dracula is shaking his head thinking he failed, Mavis says, "Dang, Dad was right," and she flies back to the hotel. Then after she leaves, Dracula moves through the crowd of zombies as this mist. What power?
Yeah.
Is this? This man is just materializing. Like, what other Dracula? Like, bro, they weren't doing this in Castlevania. Buddy wasn't moving.
Wasn't he? Hold on. What do you mean they weren't doing it in Castlevania? Wasn't Castlevania Dracula just straight up a fire face in the sky in the show at some point? So they can do that. Like, he transformed into fire, overlooking like a city as he was threatening to kill them all, I remember. So they can, like, do this.
Like this? I mean, yeah, Alucard had telekinesis, but like, what in the world is this? Anywho, the zombies start packing up, and one of them's trying to steal this mannequin. That boy is finna get freaky. Then Dracula flies out to the hotel, but we see a mysterious figure walking towards the fire. Dracula goes to check up on Mavis, and he goes, "Hey, how was the big world? How was it?" And she was just like, "It was terrible. You were right, Dad. Everything is so bad." And he gives her a hug, and she says that she's sorry she ever doubted him, and she'll never leave her again. And look at the grin on this man's face. This man just lied to his daughter and is happy about it. I'm telling you, this man was moving different in episode 1. All y'all know now is, "Hey, dude man, where's the dude man?" But in episode 1, this man was a real monster. We also find out that her mom left a present for her when she specifically turned 118. Now, they're making 118 like her 18th birthday. This irritates the fuck out of me, but I do kind of get it because they had to make it a whole nother century, so it's like humans are actually different.
Well, vampires age slower than humans. So when she was 18, she was probably still like a kid or something, or still a baby, you know, kind of thing.
Because if it was just 18 years from 1890, whatever, then it wouldn't really work. But I get it. My headcanon for this is that vampires just age at a ratio of 1.5.
Is that also just a normal power? They just age slower than normal humans too?
5 years for every 1 human year. Y'all didn't know I really had that big thinker on me. Yeah, shut your lame ass up. Anywho, Dracula gets back to the lobby, and one of the zombies from earlier comes up to him.
Yes, what do you want? A cookie? You did all right, man. Move on already.
We then see the mysterious figure from earlier walking through the turnstile door, and Dracula sees him and realizes it's a human. So he dashes over to him and talks to him while in the turnstile, and he dashed into it so fast it's spinning around them. They're having their own private conversation in here. Anywho, this guy is like a hippie hitchhiker, and he just accidentally stumbled upon the place because of the fire. Dracula tries to get him to leave, but when he walks out, there's a whole bunch of monsters trying to actively come into the hotel. So Drac sneaks him off to like a janitor closet. He then searches his backpack for weapons, but all he finds is like his shirt, and it's super stinky and it almost kills him. Then he finds his phone and starts freaking out, but Johnny says he only uses it for music, and he gives him headphones, and then he starts tweaking out. Johnny, thinking this is just some secret costume party, is just messing with Dracula and going blah blah blah. Dracula decides not to kill him because it would set monsters back hundreds of years. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a good reason for that excuse. So I'm gonna keep it 1,000. You know what? Good stuff, movie. I'll give you that. Drac then decides to dress him up as a monster so he can sneak him out the hotel. But this chef Quasimodo stops him as he's walking out, and this little rat that he keeps with him can smell humans somehow, and he's just like, I smell a human. And then Quasimodo's just like, stop being.
How does Quasimodo not count as a human? I'm always a little bit confused in this movie. Is it? Hold on. Is Quasimodo Quasimodo a human? He's a human. So wait a second. Is Quasimodo pretending to be a monster? I was always so confused. I was always so confused seeing this guy, because is he not just a human?
Stupid, this is Count Dracula.
This guy's a human. And Dracula's letting Quasimodo inside?
Eats it somewhere. While this is happening, Johnny sneaks off and he sees a skeleton. He puts his hands through their rib cage and finds out it's a female skeleton, and she slaps the mess out of him, making her boyfriend mad, and Johnny steps back and he hits Bigfoot. Then this leads to just a chain reaction of him running into monsters until he gets on a witch's broom, flies around, and then runs into Mavis. As they get up, they make eye contact with each other and they zing. But Drac instantly gets between them, and then Mavis confirms that this is the real Dracula. Johnny gets scared, but Drac grabs him and brings him into this room. And since Johnny knows now that this is the real Dracula, he starts tweaking out in this room and he's terrified. He asks if he's gonna suck his blood, pause, and Dracula says that he doesn't do that anymore and he uses blood substitutes. And then he does the blah 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 thing. Johnny then asks, what even is this place then? Drac then explains that this is like a sanctuary for monsters so they don't have to fear humans and they can live in peace. He then grabs Johnny and starts flying out of the window, but Mavis sees them mid-flight and he flies Johnny back in. Then when Mavis flies in, Johnny asks a very interesting question.
You didn't have any clothes on when you were a bat? Or were they bat-sized?
Now, while this is a little odd to ask, I think this does kind of come up later in the movie, but Mavis asks who Johnny is, and Drax makes up the excuse that he's the party planner for her new birthday since he's closer to her age. We'll then find out Mavis's age. She's 118. I said that to y'all earlier, but I guess if you didn't do the math, then you wouldn't know that. Anywho, Johnny says he's 121. I don't know if that means he's actually 21 in human years, or if he just said that, but I don't know. Then Mavis asks Johnny if they can hang out when he's not planning for the party. Drax says, of course.
I did not think about that. She's freshly 18 and he's a 21-year-old. Should we keep an eye on him?
Y'all can hang out, but once he closes the doors, he turns around and he says, yeah, y'all are not hanging out. He then opens this secret passage in the wall that leads them to these like tunnels under the castle, and they go through all these tunnels, but Dracula keeps failing to find the exit, and they stumble upon these bed bugs, bugging the bed if you know what I mean, and then they also walk in on the female skeleton from earlier. Then he pulls a lever and he sees Drax's friends beating up the zombie Mozart and zombie Beethoven band because they want to play for the birthday party instead of them. They ask Drax to sing with them and he says no, but then they insist and then he starts tweaking out.
No! Don't ask me again!
I'm telling you, this man was crashing out every 5 seconds in this movie.
Oh my goodness.
But Mavis catches Johnny in the wall, and this man is lost in the sauce. Look at him. But Johnny sees a spider and he falls into the room. But Frankenstein sees him. Dracula gets in between him and Frankenstein, and Johnny asks if they're gonna kill me, and he says, not as long as they think you're a monster. And Johnny said that was kind of racist. They make up the excuse that Johnny is Frankenstein's cousin on his right-hand side, and they ask him why he's here, and he says he's here to plan the party. And everyone looks at Dracula, and they're just like, dang, you really let somebody plan the party? So they ask Johnny if he thinks it it would be better for the classical zombies to play versus them play their music. So Johnny gets them to play, and they play this like old school love song. And in this song, they mention Doritos, and I just don't understand how they would know what those are if these guys live in isolation. But once again,
Dracula probably bought them or
but
something.
Johnny's saying they're going too slow, takes a guitar, and he starts jamming, looking directly at Mavis too. Ooh, that boy got her blushing. A crowd forms and he's going crazy. Then he goes for a stage job, but they don't know what it is, so they just let him fall. But nonetheless, after that little jam session, everyone is in love with Johnny and think he's the coolest guy ever. But Dracula says they're not doing any of that for the party, but everyone just ignores him. We then cut to everybody playing bingo, and it's just a very boring scene, and the only one really having fun is like Dracula. But Mrs. Frankenstein gets bingo, and then we get the classic line, "I didn't do that." Then they're in this like gymnasium, and half the people are on the benches and the rest are like playing charades, and they have two of the worst people to play charades with. We got this fly that's like,
why are they all watching
spinning on
them
his
play
hands,
charades?
and then we have the invisible man. But after getting bored, Johnny remembers that he had a scooter in his backpack, so he gets to busting tricks in the middle of the gym, and everybody takes their turn with the scooter until the lady from earlier grabs the scooter and eats it. I didn't do that. Then we have the pool scene. We got the little fly guy again, and he's doing like a water yoga class. I don't know, something about this guy is just so funny to me. Like, I don't know, it's just like his build or something. It's also like the tone of his, I don't know, he's just so funny. He's a cute little guy. And at the dinner tables, everybody's just trying to talk to Johnny because he's experienced other things outside the hotel, and he talks to them about the Taj Mahal, which they know of the Taj Mahal, but not going to it, which I don't know is interesting. I guess the Taj Mahal has been around for centuries, so I'll give him that one. But anywho, Dracula gets in between him and Mavis and gives her a scream cheese bagel, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. This scream cheese looks kind of good. I'm taking a bite out of it.
It does kind of good. It does kind of look good,
basically just tells him he
actually.
needs to figure out an excuse to leave, so he should go in the pool and pretend that his back is hurting and then sneak out. But someone takes it as, you need me to get on your back, and this starts a giant chicken fight in the pool. And Frankenstein somehow gets on this giant tentacle and uses it as like a diving board and jumps off.
Oh yeah, wait a second. Hold on. Where did this tentacle come from? Because the Kraken doesn't show up until... Which movie was it? The third movie with the cruise ship?
On your back, and this starts a giant chicken fight in the pool. And Frankenstein somehow...
Yeah, I'm assuming this is the Kraken's tentacle. Did Dracula hire the Kraken for this party? Or did they weirdly retcon this so they've never seen the Kraken until like that cruise movie?
Somehow gets on this giant tentacle and uses it as like a diving board and jumps off. The werewolf pantses the invisible man, and then he says that, don't judge me, you know, the pool was kind of cold. You know, obviously it's like it's a dick joke, but like you can't see him because he's invisible. I don't know. I don't know. It was funny. Dracula then sees that Johnny's makeup is rubbing off because the water, so he goes to grab him, but then he accidentally gets pulled into the pool, and underneath the water he starts tweaking out. He decides to pull the drain plug on the pool, and so the water starts going down, but Johnny just got on the giant diving board and jumps off of it and is cautiously falling towards the pool with no water. Dracula then suspends him in the air, which, yo, when did this become a vampire power?
They can do that. Vampires can do a lot of things. I know a lot of things aren't common knowledge, but vampires can do a lot of things. He even said earlier that they can Alucard from Transylvania could like levitate and use telekinesis. That's basically what he's doing.
Like, yeah, I've seen it, you know, you got Alucard doing it all the time, but like, what history books, what like folk tales did they start getting telekinesis?
I mean, I don't think there's really like a originator, but it's kind of just like as more people made more vampire stuff, things got added and things get lost or things aren't as common knowledge anymore. But yeah, they can do a lot of things. They can do a lot of things.
Like, I'm so confused. Anywho, he moves the blob to where Johnny's about to land and he takes him out of suspension. He then carries him off to a cemetery off the hotel grounds and tells him to sneak off. Then he tries to mind control him, but it doesn't work because Johnny has contacts in and that somehow stops the mind control. But after realizing the mind control won't work, Dracula basically just crashes out and threatens to kill him if he tells anybody about this place or doesn't leave. But while he's walking away, Mavis sneaks up on him and tells Johnny to follow her. Johnny says no, but then Mavis says, "You sure it'll be fun?" And this man folds like a fucking lawn chair with zero pressure.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it 1,000. I I can't blame him though. She takes him up to the roof and she asks him if he knows about Hawaii. And he says, yeah, I've been to a musical festival there. And she says, that's amazing, you've been everywhere. He basically says, of course, what am I gonna do, stay home all day? And Mavis is really upset about that, obviously, because that's her life. Then the sun starts coming up and she starts to get burned. Johnny says he has an idea and he kind of keeps her in the shade, but at an angle where she can still see the sunrise. And she is absolutely amazed by this and wooed, you know, because obviously the sunrise is pretty beautiful. But am I supposed to believe she's never seen one of these? Like, I get it, you know, they go to sleep during the day and all that, but there's no way in your 118 years of life you couldn't do this trick at all. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. But it's okay. I'm gonna let that one slide too.
I mean, we already established that Dracula barely even let her out of the castle. And the curtains are always covered because if they are awake during the daytime, they can't have any sunlight through because they'll die.
Really generous recently, and I hope one of these movies doesn't piss me off. We then cut to the guys in the sauna having fun. They start talking about Johnny, and Frankenstein says that it's nice to see Mavis happy and hanging out with someone. But Dracula says they can never be a thing because Mavis can never hang out with someone of his kind. Obviously, Frankenstein, thinking that Johnny is another Frankenstein, gets very upset by this. And then Dracula says that he means someone with red curly hair, and the invisible man gets mad. Basically, everyone in the sauna gets mad. Then we cut to Mavis and Johnny, and he's backing her up off the roof because the sun is getting close. Johnny then falls down the roof, and as Dracula is explaining that Johnny left, he falls right in Dracula's arms. We then cut to Dracula open up the door to the dining hall, and he realizes he still only has his towel on, so then he spins around and his clothes just appear out of thin air. He then tells Johnny he can sit in this room all day and rearrange the tables. Johnny starts moving the tables around, but then Dracula gets irritated by the sound and forces him into a corner to take a time out. Dracula then starts calling out the numbers of the table and telling them to rearrange, and they start flying. But while he's doing that, Johnny figures out the numbers of the tables and he sneaks onto one and tells it to fly. Dracula sees this and then knocks him off. He then goes back into the sky and starts flying around, zipping past Drac, and then Drac sees this as a challenge. So he also gets on one and he starts chasing Johnny around. And after almost getting caught, Johnny hits a half pipe off the ceiling. Then we see this long-nosed ninja lurking, sniffing the ground outside, looking for the human. We cut back to Johnny and Drac gets all the tables to kind of form a wall in the middle of the dining hall. But Johnny jumps through one of the gaps of the table. Drac then follows behind him, but he loses his table underneath him, and Johnny catches them out the air. So now they're speeding through the hallways of the hotel, and they're messing with each other while on the table, but they crash into one of the guards, and when Dracula recovers, he realizes that Johnny is gone. He instantly realizes that Quasimodo must have stolen him, and he goes to find him. And that boy is Naruto running through the halls. Look at him. He is on timing. But while running, he runs into Mavis, and she asks where Johnny is. And Drac says, why do you ask? Do you like him? And she's just like, nah, he's so weird and awkward, and he doesn't know he's adorable. And then he realizes, my boy Johnny is in there. That boy already knows. He's scared too. He's just like, no, my Mavis. And after realizing this, Dracula goes to the nearest guard and he tells him, he's just like, do you have a location on Quasimodo? And we see that all these like night guards are kind of like a hive mind and can see what the other one sees, which is cool as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. This shit is lit. Anywho, the guards go to stop Quasimodo, and this man locks in. Weave. They then block him at the
with
door.
a person
Instead of
on
the
his
guard
back
saying,
too.
like, yo, Dracula told us to capture you. They just try to grab him, hits the step back like Danny Granger, and then kicks bro in the ball. The knight realizes he's a knight, and he's just like, why in the world did that hurt me? We then see these eyes glow in the dark, and it's all these gremlin dudes coming to attack Quasimodo, and that boy
the
gets
gargoyles.
He jumps on one, gets onto the woodwork of the ceiling. He weaves
They're
this one, weaves
gargoyles.
another one, swings off this guard. Then we zoom in. The rat on his head is also getting busy. This boy's fighting spiders on top of the hat and makes light work of them. He hits the ground, he looks to his right, and he sees that the guards are there. Then he looks to his left, and he sees the little gremlin things, and he gets
Gargoyles.
an idea. He runs and he jumps on one of the guards' helmets, kicking it off. This then hits one of the gremlins in the face, and then he just keeps doing it. Bing, 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 bing. Until he makes it through the doorway. Then he hits this pose, and that boy got that. Wait a minute, is this
Oh my
nigga even a
goodness.
monster, bro?
He's
Quasimodo
finally
is just a
realizing.
hunchback. This nigga isn't even a fucking monster. He's damn near human. Wait a minute, bro.
It's finally
So is
realizing.
the Invisible Man, bro. He's just a human. He's just invisible. This ninja had humans in the hotel. I don't even have the energy to like really dive into that.
Okay, well, I don't know. The Invisible Man is technically considered a monster because he's invisible and humans can't do that. I don't know what the excuse is for Quasimodo, but the Invisible Man does have like a legend and a history that considers him a monster. Does he also have like a couple movies or something?
But you know what? I'ma let it slide. I'ma have to let it slide. Shadow Berleezy. We then cut to Mavis and Drac, and they're talking about love. And Mavis rubs the chin of the statue, and you can see the statue's eyes move and look at it. Then someone comes in and tells Drac that Quasimodo made it to the kitchen, and you can still see the statue reacting to Drac. But Drac rushes to the kitchen. We then cut to Quasimodo slowly roasting Johnny over a fire. Dracula turns off the fire and then grabs him, and he goes to leave, but Quasimodo stops him, and he says, "Wow, Dracula, now you're helping them human." Dracula says he's not a human, he's a Frankenstein. And Quasimodo says if he is, then he could prove it by scaring Esmeralda, the rat. He goes over to scare her, and she is absolutely unfazed. Just does not give a fuck about anything he got going on. And then she makes a little rat noise, and this scares the absolute shit out of Johnny. And Quasimodo starts tweaking out, screaming human. He goes to attack Dracula, but he just freezes him. Then this like gremlin goes to Quasimodo's body and then sticks his finger in his nose. I'm pretty sure he did this because this gremlin specifically has been beat by Quasimodo like twice. Like, I mean, an absolutely like belt to ass beat. Like, this nigga was whipping his shit. Anywho,
Oh my
Dracula
goodness.
takes Johnny to this abandoned room, and Johnny sees a picture of a woman, and he says there's a whole legend around her, and that he visited the castle that her and her husband died in.
The legend is wrong. The wife that died.
That boy moving different. Bro, that's aura right there. Bro, if Mavis died, this man would have tweaked out. F the hotel, F everything, bro. He would have pulled a full Castlevania Dracula and murked everyone. And this one is not failing, I promise, because this guy is actually OP. And since he had Mavis instead of an Alucard, he wouldn't even have been stopped. This man would have just wiped out all of humanity. Licky split, you heard? That boy would have got the victory royale, would have been the last one alive. Anywho, he explains to Johnny that the legend is wrong because the only one that died was the wife, and that the husband and their kid made it out because he is her husband. He also tells him that there's
Okay,
no
hold on.
mystery
Can we
to
go
who
back?
killed
Hold on. Can we go back? Let's go back. Go back.
out because he is her husband.
Look at her, and then look at him. This guy's got like a crimson mega chin right now, and then she just has normal proportions. I'm not making fun of. He's handsome, but like look at his chin, and then look at her.
He also tells him that there's no mystery to who killed her because the humans did it. While he was trying to talk them down to get them to not do anything, they killed his wife, but he was able to escape with Mavis. Dracula once again explains that he built this place for his wife to protect their child, and he also says he'll do
My
anything
goodness.
to protect Mavis even if he has to lie to her. But he then tells Johnny that Mavis has feelings for him. Drac says he likes
Vampires with
Johnny,
their long
but he wishes
fangs.
more humans were like him. Johnny says it's the 21st century and some might
You know what they say about a vampire and their long fangs.
be, but Drac asks if he could promise that everyone will be okay with it, and Johnny says no. Which I'm not gonna lie, that definitely is true. But I mean, if you need like everybody to accept you, like I mean, like come on, bro, like you look, you bugging a little bit, like come on. But Johnny is discouraged by his revelation, and he says, "I'll just leave. Just say that I snuck out, or I left, or I didn't want to be here anymore." And Drac tells him, "No, wait until after the birthday party." And Johnny says he just really doesn't want to hurt Mavis. Dracula tells him he's not the smoothest Frankenstein, but he would make a good vampire. Johnny says he thinks so too, and then he has us hypnotize him down. So Johnny goes for it, and he tells Dracula that he is now a vampire, and he plays along with it. You can really see they had a real bond here, and I don't know, it's just really cool. Then we cut to the werewolf, which I guess makes sense since they were like acting like the werewolf. But anywho, he hasn't gotten any sleep, and right when he's about to close his eyes, the phone rings. It is time to get ready for Mavis's party. Mavis looks at her closet, and she grabs all of her same exact shirts. Then we see her start sewing them together. We cut to the invisible man, and he's getting himself ready, and we see him powdering his buns. That boy is caked up. We then see Dracula sneak into Mavis's room and put a present on her bed from her mom.
You know, it is crazy. I get that he's the invisible, but he's naked. Why is bro just walking around naked? Like he had swim trunks on when he was in the pool, but in his base form, he's just walking around naked with only glasses on. He could at least put some pants on, a shirt, a leotard, anything. You're just walking around.
We cut to the party and we see the guys playing as a band. And with all of Johnny's ideas, this joint is getting crunk. We see the wolf kids on this table, and the youngest out of all of them, this girl with the binky, is an absolute menace. She whoops everybody on this table.
He won't be visible. It's better than walking around with your dick hanging out, but nobody sees it.
Then we see Johnny on the dance floor. You know he's gonna crunk, but
At least do like the courtesy thing and put some pants on at least.
and Mavis pulls up on him. He calls her beautiful and she says thanks, I really like the party. And then he says, do you like my little touches? He has these like what I assume are fireflies of every color of the rainbow, and they're making different locations around the world, including Hawaii. So then Mavis does a little trust fall thing, but then turns into a bat last second. And look, the makeshift like cape dress she made does not turn into a bat with her.
My theory here is, right, that the clothes they
She can choose what goes with her to being a bad and what doesn't.
wear are actually like a part of their like spirit or whatever the hell their weird ass magic works. Because that goes away when they turn into vampires. But other things don't. So I think that's how it works.
I think she can just choose what goes with her to being a bad and what doesn't. I think you're thinking a bit too deeply into this.
Anywho, they start dancing, but in the middle of dancing, Mavis looks at Johnny like this. Yo, she knows what she's doing. You look at anybody like this, you know it's about to be raps. But we cut to Dracula, and this boy takes off the cape and gets to breaking it down, bro. Look at him. Oh, that boy getting crazy. That boy got the 1700s funk in him. But Mavis and Johnny kiss, and one of the guards snitches, pointing it out to Dracula. And this boy moves through the crowd and pulls up immediately. And Dracula is pissed. And Mavis says she wants to try to go outside again. And Dracula says, no, it won't be worth it. And then Mavis says, I'll just go to the village again, you know, I'll try again. And Dracula finally snaps and says that won't be possible because the village doesn't exist. And then the music stops and everyone is looking at Dracula like, damn. And then you hear Frankenstein in the back say, what did you do? I don't know why this just reminds me of a meme, but I just can't put my finger on it. It's like the way he says it.
What did you do?
But Mavis pressures him into confessing, and he tells her the truth that he built the town is not real. And he says if something happened to her, then he couldn't live with himself, so he didn't let her go out. And then she says, but you could live with lying to me. But right before he can answer, frozen Quasimodo is willed over by the rat into the middle of the party. He's trying to talk, but he's frozen, so no one can understand him. But then the fly flies over, and he's just like, I speak frozen. And he translates that there's a human in the party. And then he points over to Johnny. But then Quasimodo's rat messes up Johnny's makeup and his hair, and everyone realizes he's a human, and they start tweaking out. But Mavis sees him and asks him if it's true, and Johnny says he's sorry for lying, and she says she doesn't care, she still wants to be with you. But Johnny looks out to the crowd and he sees Dracula sad, and he decides to play the villain and says he doesn't want to be with her because she's a monster, and storms off. And he does this dumbass karate move and like scares everybody. But then Mavis gets mad at Drac and she storms off, and everyone leaves the party. Later on, Dracula goes to check on Mavis but doesn't see her in the room. He thinks that she ran away, but he flies out and realizes that she's just on the roof. So he walks over to her and she asks for a favor. He says anything, and she asks if he could erase her memory, and he says he could never do anything like that to her. She starts crying, and we see the present from her mom. It's this little 4-page book about how her and her dad met, and on the last page it says, your zing will come, my love, and cherish it. Mavis then says she thought her and Johnny zinged, and Dracula's just like, damn, y'all zinged. Mavis then says, you don't have to worry about me leaving. I have no more dreams, and I don't want to leave the castle anymore. Then she flies to her room. This postcard of Hawaii flies in the wind, and right before it flies too far, Dracula catches it, and he asks himself, what has he done? We then cut to everyone trying to leave the hotel because the human, but then Dracula comes to them and tells them that he needs help trying to find Johnny, but they're all upset because he let Johnny in there. Drac then explains that Johnny wasn't a bad guy, and he also doesn't know if humans were bad, and he was lying to them the whole time. But then Dracula tells everyone that they zinged, and everybody just eats that up. Frankenstein starts short-circuiting, which I guess is his version of crying, and then everybody's just like, okay, you know what, let's get Johnny, what are we doing? So they skedaddle on up out of there. They hop in the V, and they are ready to go. The mummy asks Dracula what he's gonna do about the sun, and he says he's just gonna have to roll.
Also, hold on, I was thinking, Dracula technically does know that there are bad humans out there that want nothing but the worst for the monsters. Because I don't remember what movie it might have been, the Cruise movie again, where he has like history of a monster hunter constantly hunting him and the other monsters down. So he has a good reason to not believe that the humans have changed, because back in his day, him and the other monsters were just being constantly hunted solely for the fact that they were monsters. Even, you know? So he has a good reason to not want to trust humans.
with it. They find a shirt from Johnny's backpack and he tries to get the werewolf to sniff it, but he tells Dracula that his nose hasn't worked for forever since he had kids and, you know, diapers and I don't know. I guess that messed up his nose. Then he calls over his kids. He whistles, but it's like silent, you know, because they're like dogs. Like,
dog whistle.
Anywho, all his kids come out of nowhere and they pull up squad deep and none of them listen to him. So he calls out the only one that still respects him. And it's the little girl from earlier that was on the table. And when she starts walking, they
did
freeze
retcon
in
it,
their
yeah.
place. And I don't know what kind of nose she
Which is why, again, I think this movie would have been so much better if it was just a standalone movie and they didn't make it into a series.
has, but she tells him everything possible. Tells him what type of car he hopped
They
in.
wouldn't have had the retcon if they didn't make, what, 4 or 3 other movies?
Tells him that the car needs transmission fluid, tells him what airport, where he's headed to, and what seat he's in the airplane. She's goated. So they hop back in the car and they get the booking it. They didn't see a sheep in the middle of the road and they yell out sheep. I kind of feel like this was a Jeep joke somehow, but I don't know. So y'all let me know if it was. But they make a hard left to avoid the sheep and end up on this like mountain road. They see a human dressed up as Dracula and a werewolf, and then they're very tripped out about it. And they see that the humans are throwing a monster festival. And this makes them realize that the humans actually like them. Dracula sees a human dressed up as him and he asks him, how do I get through this crowd? And he says he should have left an hour earlier. And he does the blah 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 thing, and Dracula's just like, I don't go blah blah blah. So they decide to go on foot. So to get to the crowd, they decide that they need to scare the humans. Frankenstein says he can't scare people anymore because he hasn't done it in years. But the Invisible Man gets bro active, lights a match, puts it in front of his face, and bro gets to tweaking out. Climbs to the top of this balloon of himself and gets to roaring on that joint. Everybody covers their ears, but once he's done, they start clapping. And he gets mad because they're not scared. But the humans say that they love them. So Frankenstein decides to take this moment and tell the humans that the real Dracula is down there and that his daughter's in love and that he needs to go to the airport. Someone asks him to prove that he's the real Dracula, and he makes him crack this mug up against his head. But one of the Draculas has an idea on how to help him. So he gets all the Draculas to line up in a row and someone else to lift their cape up to protect him from the shade. And Dracula sees this and bro gets the booking it. Naruto running all the way through. Everything is in slow motion to him, and he hears everyone supporting him, saying that they love him and chanting him on. He then makes it to the airport and he sees Johnny. He says there's no choice, and he decides to run out into the sun. He goes in the bat form and he gets to chase in this plane. And that boy is smoking, but somehow, some way, this man catches up to this plane. I'm telling you, this has to be the most OP Dracula, because he's
Do we have to say it again? Vampires are very fast.
just caught up to this plane.
I'm not
after he'd
surprised at
already
all.
left. But he rests on this landing gear while it's in the shade for a couple seconds and gets straight back to it. He makes it to Johnny's window. He tries to bang on it, but Johnny has headphones in and does not see him. Also on the screen in front of Johnny is like Vampire Diaries or something. I don't know, whichever one
Twilight.
goes, you imprinted on my daughter. But then Johnny notices him, but through the glass they can't talk. This pisses Dracula off, so he flies to the cockpit. Then he hypnotizes the pilot and talks to Johnny through the pilot. He tells him that he's sorry and he made a terrible mistake and that he wants Johnny to come back. Back at the window, Johnny gives him a thumbs up and he turns the plane around. Obviously everybody else on the plane is absolutely pissed because that's some BS, but you know, hey. And before we get to the next scene, I'm not letting this slide. This ninja Dracula is actually OP. This man has been outside in the sun as a bat for, I don't even know. This man doesn't have any freaking debuffs. He's just straight go. Like literally, what are some of these powers?
Okay, him being out for that long is kind of ridiculous, and him being out for that long in the sun and not dying was kind of ridiculous and the most unrealistic thing about it. But to be fair, it is a cartoon movie. They can't have him die in the middle of his speech.
This man has telekinesis, can defy gravity, has mind control, can suspend things in the air and freeze things, like super sight, super speed. Bro, he caught up to this plane. Who is this ninja? You know what?
He's a vampire. Granted, he is Dracula, and Dracula is the most powerful of all the vampires. So of course he's probably way stronger than a normal vampire, but vampires can't do this shit.
I just realized, I know who he is. He's a dude man.
Hey, dude man. I'm a dude man.
Yes, I made this whole video just to make that joke. At me. at me. Then we cut to him flying in the Mavis's room, and he's all burnt up, which I'm not gonna lie, doesn't make any sense, because if he had to turn the plane around and he probably got back to the village with the guys, with Johnny, then he really didn't need to do any of that, unless he was just aura farming, which, to be honest, I wouldn't put it past him, because he was kind of aura farming this whole movie. But Dracula says that he only wants to see Mavis happy, and she says she doesn't know how she's supposed to do that. And this nigga regenerates before he could even get the sentence out. Not to mention
Because he's a vampire. He's a vampire. Of course he can. Plus he's in the shade now.
his clothes regenerate too. Then Dracula says, I have a birthday present for you. He turns his backpack around and Johnny is there. She asks why you're here and he says, because you're my Zing. And then she says, I thought you hated monsters. And Johnny says, I only said that because your dad said he was gonna suck all the blood out of me. And Dracula admits that he was actually gonna do that. This man is about that action. But Johnny and Mavis have a moment and they're about to kiss, and then Dracula crashes out. But then he leaves the room, and while they kiss, we get this transition into the night. And now they're actually celebrating Mavis's birthday. We cut to Quasimodo still frozen and getting tortured by the werewolf's kids. And you know, I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting because is he like really the antagonist here? Like, he outed Johnny, but like I kind of feel like he
honestly, low-key, the real antagonist is Dracula and him being a low-key abusive father. He lied to his daughter. He was isolating her. He was trying to keep her from the real world. The real villain is Dracula.
did what he was supposed to do in a way. I mean, I don't know, like, unless they like unfroze him and he was still trying to kill Johnny, like it makes sense to keep him frozen, but I feel like this is just kind of insane. And also, like, who is necessarily the antagonist of the movie? I guess it's more so Dracula or more so his mindset. I don't know. Anywho, they get the partying. Johnny asks Dracula to sing and he grabs the mic and this boy gets to rapping. Bro thinks he's Drizzy Drake. You get a Drizzy Drake like Drizzy Drake, but it's like Dracula. It's basically just showing that everyone's having fun and that Drac finally loosened up. And that is the end. W fucking movie.
The end of the first movie.
Anywho, why have I've never retaked an anywho? Who that, you know who I am? I'm the anywho king. This is my shit.